Good to go?
Yep, you can start.
Alrighty, this is the community services meeting for May 6th. I don't know if we need to take virtual attendance since it's being recorded. So that's some a written agenda from Joe. Mike, did you send it out?
I have
Sorry.
it here. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to send it, but I'll send it as soon as we get moving. But I can share my screen.
Perfect. Can you make sure you send that to Terry Booth?
Yes.
In it. Joe, Mike, who wants to start? Either you
Go ahead,
guys.
Joe.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a lot to talk about. In the report I sent out, the first thing is the grant application for municipal road funds. Unless Jim, you've gotten something, I'm not sure we have received anything from the county, whether we've gotten those two applications or not. Jim, you might have gotten something already.
No,
right?
I haven't yet.
Okay. So there's really nothing new to add to that. This 2020 street repair program, it was originally scheduled to start April 1st. They didn't really get started until last week. So the actual start date was April 29th. And just for everybody's information.
Hey, Joe, just going back to the Houck Road MRF money, I'm not sure, at the last meeting we shared with the committee that we applied for, I think it was $280,000 more from OKI for the Houck Road project. Anybody remember us talking about that?
I don't think I heard that in my report.
I'm seeing a lot of shaking of heads no, but we applied for it was somewhere around $280,000 more for Houck Road because of the right-of-way costs went up, and OKI lets you apply at a one-time only for more money for projects, and it looks like the staff is going to be recommending that to the OKI board in June. So it looks like we're going to get some extra money from OKI for that project. So keep your fingers crossed for the June meeting.
Okay. Just one other thing on the 2020 street repair program. We were originally going to start on Ohio Avenue because school would have been in, but with school not returning, they decided to start in the school area on Spinner, and with the hopes of having all that type of work done by the time school starts up again in August. So that's the reason why they're doing that. The 2020 street curb and sidewalk program, as everybody's aware, probably has been canceled due to the uncertainty of revenues coming up as a result of the crisis. I don't know if anybody's been down City Hall lately, but there is a lot of new landscaping being done by the Public Works Department along the parking lot and on the side of the north side of the building. That will take a while to grow up to where it needs to be, but it is looking a lot better, a lot cleaner. Got some of the old stuff out of there. That was really starting. Even some of the trees were either dead or in the process of dying. So it was sorely needed. And then the only other thing I got is I just want to remind everybody we're still doing all the COVID crisis measures, the split shifts, which allows us different starting times, lunch breaks, and if shift times. We split the crews up in two different shifts. We do still taking temperatures every day. We're working in only two people as a team and no more than two employees driving in a vehicle at a time. And then we use any protection equipment we need, and we sanitize the vehicles every day at the end of the shift. So to date, nobody has been detected with or shown any symptoms of coronavirus. So seems to be working. So that's all I have. Any questions?
Have any questions for Joe?
Yeah, it sounds good. Sounds like everything's moving along nicely.
Joe, I got
Thank you.
with everything going on, how's everybody doing? How's the morale in your department?
It's good.
What do you
I
think?
mean, they don't, guys that are coming in later don't particularly like the split shift thing, but it's just that's not a big deal. I mean, we talk to them and it'll all be over sooner or later. So, but no, overall, I think the morale's good. We did have an employee who his name is Robert Craig. We hired him a year ago. We did not allow him to finish out his probationary period. We let him go. There was some.
Joe,
There was
I
some-
wouldn't get into the details, Joe. This is a recorded live meeting.
Okay, so just to let everybody know, we're down a person.
If anybody
but,
wants to know, just give me or Joe a call.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Does Joe, if you want to stick around, great. If you don't, I don't have an issue with you dropping off. Anyone else
Okay.
think of anything? We can always call you back to add you back in, right?
Well, I'll stick around for a little bit unless something comes up.
Carol, you're up.
I'm fine.
And Mike, you said you wanted to share your screen. I don't know if you have the capability or if Josh needs to make you a host or something.
Let me
I don't
take a
know.
look.
See if you can do that real quick.
Casey, I think I'm just on if there's any additional questions, but Michael is going to present.
Mike said that it's all up to you, that you were doing everything today.
I'll do it if you want me to.
Thanks, Carol. Yeah, recreation, we've got no report. We're business as usual.
Oh yeah, we're just having fun.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I just emailed you all the committee report, but I'll share my screen here and we'll go ahead and go through it. Let's see. So I'm just going to try and hit through some of these current updates and things that we got going on. And we got some discussion things we'd like to have with you guys as well. We know right now our building is ready to go. It's cleaned, it's sanitized. We do have some people that are going in daily. The maintenance staff is in there daily, and then some of our administrative staff is in there 1 to 2 times per week. But everything is being cleaned nightly and being deep cleaned. The different rooms are being deep cleaned nightly. We did have our overnight cleaning staff switched from a regular like general cleaning to focusing on some of the more used areas during our closure. So that's being cleaned very deeply on a regular basis. But two things I want to point out in the recent order from the governor, the stay safe order or whatever I guess he calls it. They spelled out recreational sports in this one, which was not spelled out in the first one. Recreational sports tournaments, organized leagues, day camps shall be prohibited. Swimming pools, public or private, closed, and this is through May 29. So that's something that was spelled out exclusively. We had a lot of folks asking about using the fields, and I'll touch on some SYO stuff here in a minute. But it was nice that they spelled it out this time because it gives us something to immediately point to when we get continued questions regarding when are we going to play baseball, when are we going to play soccer, when's the pool going to open. So that was helpful for us. Another section of it basically states that the order that was signed March 17th remains in effect through May 29th, and all public recreation centers, fitness centers, workout facilities, gyms, those were exclusively spelled out in that one as well. So those are the big ones that are affecting us, obviously. But we continue to monitor daily and about updates that we're in little snippets we can find to see what's going to change. talking about some capital projects. I know we touched on this in the council meeting about some of the things that are being done to be pushed back to the end of the year or even to the future. Some of the big projects that we took a deep look at and that we have either put a hold on or a big question mark on. Our biggest one is our boilers. You guys had approved $150K for us to replace our boilers this year. So we pushed that back, put a little bit of a Band-Aid on that and pushed that back. And we're hopeful that will be okay for the foreseeable future till we can revisit it. The aerobics room TRX system, that was pushed back. The track replacement, that was one of the ones that was a big question mark because we were really, if you guys remember at our meeting in March, we had a lot of discussion regarding the track. And we were really excited to get moving on that to make some changes to accommodate a lot of people in the community. But that was one of the ones we kind of put a hold on. And I'm hoping that we can revisit that one this fall when things get more clear for what the plans are. Building signage, Gower Park swings. Those are some of the ones that we put the pause button on. Some of the ones that we've committed to, some of the bigger ones. Actually, the slide restoration should be up in the ones that were being held off. I apologize for that. We're holding off on that. We're doing some spot treatment on that one. So we're going to save another 62. But the CDBG Inclusive Equipment Grant, this is a grant that we were approved for in 2017. So we are moving forward with that. And that's pretty exciting because we'll have some equipment, like I said in my report, that we've never had before. Gorman update. The playground is set to arrive between 5/8 and 5/11. They have not started site prep because of all the wet weather. So cross your fingers for a run of dry weather here. It doesn't feel like May outside. It didn't really feel like April either. So we're hoping that things warm up and dry up a bit. State capital funding for the demo of Gorman Pool and Schoolhouse. This is from George Glover. He sent us this information on 4/22. So it really hasn't been updated from yesterday's meeting with the governor, his press conference, where he talked a lot about this. But essentially it says that the General Assembly, when they do reconvene, has indicated they'll primarily be focusing on COVID legislation. So a reasonable time frame for a capital budget could be this fall, when the state has a better idea of financial impact on the operating budget. Well, obviously yesterday the governor mentioned some of those impacts on the biennium operating budget. So they talked about, the state has a $2.7 billion rainy day fund, and the governor mentioned yesterday that they will be dipping into that rainy day fund. So this is likely going to have an impact on the state capital funding that we were awarded through the Hamilton County Task Force, the 180 grand that we were hoping to be able to get to remove Gorman Pool and Crescentville Center. So that's going to really cause an impact on the timeline of that project, which, obviously taking a look at, and Jim, you might be able to touch on this, taking a look at citywide capital projects. Gorman was another big ticket item. So I don't know right now, obviously it's probably more on the holding pattern. But that's, one of the considerations.
That's what we shared with the finance committee last night. There was total $3 million citywide that we're hoping to revisit in some future months here. Michael, the other thing about Gorman, before you leave that section, just so the committee knows, ODNR has a grant program called Nature Works that each June applications are due. I went on their website the other day, just as out of curiosity. I know it was on Michael's radar to apply for that this year. I went on their website to see if there's any impact, and they have put those grants on hold. They're going to do their next grant submittal June of next year, and hopefully combine dollars, but because of the unknowns in the state budget, they're putting that grants on hold. There is another one in November that's a little bit larger that we could request that there was no update on yet, but my anticipation is that's probably going to be delayed too, I would think, but just FYI.
Yeah, some of the history on that, we did apply for Nature Works last year. And this was prior to a lot of our work being done for Gorman. So we applied for something different. We applied for the baseball dugouts at Kemper, and that was not awarded to us. That's the NatureWorks grant. The Land and Water Conservation Fund grant in November that Jim was mentioning, we applied last year for Gorman, and we were denied. But if you recall, we lost out to Hamilton County Great Parks for the dredging of Sharon Woods. So that was a monster project that they awarded in our area. But if it's going to go again in November, we're definitely going to tee up our application again and reapply. So that's a promise we've made to you guys, is continue to try and find alternate funding to do as much as we can at Gorman. Moving along, SYO, we know that all sports are on hold as outlined in the order, like I mentioned, to May 29th. The community's been updated on this. This has all been communicated to SYO, St. Mike's, all the different youth sports organizations that use our facilities are aware that, we have a temporary suspension in place. SYO Soccer, Say Soccer, it's a national organization. They are now canceled. Their season has been canceled. So there will not be any Sharonville soccer this spring or summer. They're hoping to tee things back up in the fall. They're already working on scenarios to be able to try and offer something, but it could be a limited, offering when they get to that. SYO baseball and softball, this is with the local Knot Hole organization. They are still working through scenarios to be able to offer something this summer. But I got off the phone with Denny Howard, the baseball and softball coordinator, earlier this morning, and he's not holding out a lot of hope, because the problem with SYO baseball and softball are not as popular a sport as they used to be. So there's not as many kids that play. So what they essentially are running into is, as this drags on, less kids are interested in playing in some type of a smaller, version of baseball, or a smaller version of softball. So since the teams are already reduced in size, they're running into not being able to field teams at all, because there's just not enough kids that are going to play. So that's kind of a bummer, but they're hoping to be able to offer something. But they've announced that they're going to be offering some credits, partial refunds, and the potential for people to donate some of the money that they've spent moving forward, so that they can try and keep their things going. A lot of kids, that play baseball or play soccer also play basketball. So I'm hopeful that they'll be able to apply that money that they spent for those sports fees on their basketball season or later volleyball season. Aquatics, the pools are filled, the pools are balanced. And talking with SwimSafe, and I mentioned this the other night as well, they want us to continue to run the pools whether we open or not, because that's what the pool equipment is meant to do. If the pool equipment takes that much time off of not being constantly run, then there is, potential maintenance issues that can arise from that. So we talked about seeing some of savings by not opening the pool on time or at all. Who knows? We will realize a lot of those savings because we won't have staff. But there will still be some fees that we will have to pay to keep the pool moving and keep it running, so that we don't run into bigger problems down the road of something breaking, a pump, a motor, something like that could really cause us a lot of cost. I did meet with OPRA directors, and they have received some basic information from CDC. This is draft information. I'm sure I've shared some of this with some folks already, but just some potential rules that we could be seeing in pools this summer. Masks for all staff, not in the water, which is kind of crazy, because a lifeguard wearing a mask in 100-degree heat is going to be a little bit odd. Social distancing maintained in the water and on the deck, and having extra staff in place to monitor that. So instead of the lifeguards blowing whistles for kids horse playing or playing chicken, they're going to be blowing whistles for kids being too close to each other. So I don't know what that's going to look like, but I feel more confident this year because of SwimSafe being involved, and this is what they do. They're at the forefront of that. So this gives me a little bit of a calming effect. Hopefully we do have some shadow of a pool season that we can offer this year. That's my goal, is if we can, we will. But again, there's going to be some weird things in place that people are going to have to potentially abide by that are not going to be fun. Frequent disinfecting of common items and areas, handrails, things like that. Some of the other discussion points that a lot of other area aquatic operators talked about were not having a concession stand because of the continued issues with disinfecting and cleaning, and staff having to wear masks. And on top of that, the potential for losing money because you have to buy so many items to stockpile, and your menu offerings and what that could be. I mentioned a few times that SwimSafe prepared us for a delayed opening. We know at this point now that that's reality. There will be no Memorial Day opening weekend. The order goes through that. So we're still kind of playing it by ear to see when the governor is going to allow pools to open. I find it interesting that Indiana is looking like they're going to be opening up their pools at the end of May. So I'm not sure, how that works out and how that plays into Ohio's plans. But I watch the governor of Ohio, the governor of Indiana, and the governor of Kentucky almost daily just to see what everybody's doing. But unfortunately, I don't think that, that really plays into what Governor DeWine's plans are going to be. So we'll see. The Sharks swim team, they're still hoping for a swim season. I did copy a letter that they sent out to all of their parents, swimmers, and organizations, essentially saying that there's a few scenarios that they've considered to still have some semblance of a pool season. They want to have a pool season, and some of those require pushing back championships. We were scheduled to actually host championships in
Just hid
2020.
Fine, honey.
2022, and the city of St. Bernard actually swapped with us because they have some construction. So then we were bumped up to 2021. So we could be potentially hosting swim championships next year. But if there's no pool season, I'm not quite sure what that's going to look like. Camp. So camp's another big one because I grew up in Sharonville. I was one of those families that my parents are either dropping us off at the pool or dropping us off at camp. So I know how important camp and the pool is to a lot of Sharonville kids and a lot of Sharonville families. I can tell you that Aaron's working on multiple scenarios to be able to offer something, to be able to offer some version of camp, some version of childcare, some version of summer activity for the kids to be able to be, enjoying daily. So that's something that's in the back of our minds, actually the front of our minds, to be able to offer something. But we are not doing any registration until we know that we are going to be allowed to offer camp. And part of that is because we don't want people to have to, financially put themselves out there to a large extent, because they might not be able to right now, because camp is not it's not expensive, but it's also not a cheap thing. So we're holding off on that. But we know some of the potential rules that camp could see this year are masks for all staff, 6 feet apart. We would be subject to the participation limitation, which could be like 10 or 15 kids. So we would have small groups. Common areas would be closed. And that's in general, like common areas within our building, common areas within the parks and things like that. Resist mixing between groups, which is really tough for us because our camp thrives on large group games, small group games, field trips, gatherings, swimming. So a lot of that stuff goes out the window. Cancel field trips, frequent disinfecting of common areas and items, which I don't know how you do that when you're playing kickball. So if you disinfect the ball in between each pitch, that's really tough. But there are things that, again, we're going to do everything we can to try and have something offered for our community. And then the big thing is PPE. So they say that we're going to definitely be, if we open up, camp, if we open up pools, if we open up the community center, the PPE for us, the personal protection equipment will be critical to have on hand for those staff members. Obviously, the pool would fall under SwimSafe. That would be their responsibility. But that's another question mark because of the availability of that stuff. So I know from a recreation community center standpoint, we're doing everything we can right now to stockpile sanitizer, cleaning supplies, PPE, gloves. We even have staff members that are making masks, handmade masks. So we're doing everything we can to be able to open. And then the last piece is, this is kind of a repeat from last time we met, but we're just continuing the community engagement digitally, Facebook primarily. We've had a lot of good traction on Facebook with different things we've done. I think one of the coolest things that we've done is some of the walking in the different communities, which gets people out and about, and they can see how many miles they might be walking on a certain loop. But we're trying to keep physical health, in mind. We're trying to keep mental health in mind. We're trying to keep kids busy. We're trying to, do as much as we can, communicate updates. But that's pretty much my report. I do have some discussion things that I want to talk about with the committee, some things we spoke regarding with the mayor about. But before I get into that, I just want to say we are meeting daily at this point. Some teams are meeting weekly. We've broken down a lot of our staff into program meetings, operation meetings. This is a list of some of the meetings that we have. But we have different work sessions we're going to be hosting. The facility reopening team, the fitness team, the 4th of July team, the aquatic team, the camp team. So we've got different teams that we're continuing to work with, and we're doing everything we can to communicate and try to find solutions to these issues so that we can open. So, but the one big discussion point that I have, we are talking about memberships, and the goal is to be able to continue to accommodate the members. And right now, a lot of communities we know around us will be extending memberships by the same number of days that they will be closed. And speaking with the mayor and Jim, that is our hope, or not our hope, that is our plan. We will be extending memberships by the number of days closed at a minimum. So that is the minimum that we're going to do. We've discussed other ideas about potential discounted memberships. We've discussed other ideas, regarding what we'll do if we open in a staggered approach, because we might not open the pool, but we might open the fitness center. We might not open the gymnasium for people to play pickleball, but we might open the track. So there's different things that people pay for in their membership and they expect when they buy it to be able to do. And that kind of leads us into a bigger discussion of how we're going to accommodate folks. So again, at a minimum, we will be announcing very shortly, and we wanted to wait to talk to, obviously, this committee to make sure you guys are on board and what other ideas you might have. But we'll be announcing the extension of memberships by the same number of days closed. And right now we're just kind of chewing that around and seeing what's going on. Jim, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, just as we discuss other options, we'll obviously let you guys know and get your feedback on. But if you think of anything, let Michael or I know, and as well. But we think, like Michael said, at a minimum, the public's asking, right? They're asking what's happening with their memberships, and we want to be able to say at least that they'll be extended the same number of days that the facility was closed.
Hey, Mike, let me make a suggestion. And before we
Sure.
get on other discussion items, does anybody about the written agenda items? Sue? Okay.
I'm good.
The current state of Ohio governor's order expires on May 29th, correct?
Correct.
And in the written agenda you sent out, the aquatic interior should actually be a held off project.
The interior of the aquatic slides.
Correct.
Yeah, that should have been added to the list. We're currently not doing. That's my fault.
I had a about something. Sorry, I'm looking at it now. Yeah. Oh, I know. What was the traditional or usual date for Camp Sharonville signups?
What was the what?
What time of the year do people usually sign up for Camp Sharonville? Don't you have a date like first day?
Yeah, April 1 is typically our starting point for registration. And we do a two-week priority registration for residents. And then we open it up to business members, and then we open it up to non-members as well. But we've obviously, missed that deadline.
Nope, that was all I had. Whatever your other discussion items were, thanks.
The only thing, again, I had was in terms of discussion, was some feedback on memberships and what you folks might have questions about or might have ideas on regarding how we could accommodate and how we could, continue to add value to our membership, or, make people feel like they're getting what they paid for out of their membership.
Mike, I think that the circumstance, these people, if they're very upset about their membership, because I heard one person was worried about they were going to lose all this money or something, I don't know, but it's the times. You can't, the governor's telling us what to do. We can't say, oh yeah, come on, Mike Bloomer, you give us, open it up, come on. So I just think people just have to start using their heads, because you're going to try to accommodate any way you can. Just right now, you don't know when and how you can. So I think people need to understand that.
Yeah, I think it's the approach of extending memberships is very fair, and it's fair across the board. But again, we try every day to be accommodating in what we do and how we approach members and non-members. So our goal is to just make sure that we're continuing with that accommodation.
What is it that people are upset about? Are they asking for a refund and we don't give them, or?
No, I don't. This really isn't response to folks that are upset. This is more in response to questions of, what are you doing? What is the plan? What is happening with my active membership? How is that being handled? So we want to be able to give that information, not necessarily in response to a bunch of negativity. We haven't had a bunch of negativity. It's just been more, people that are asking for more information.
No, I think I'm supportive of the plan to extend memberships based on the time closed, kind of like we did when we were renovating the fitness center. I think that's
Same idea. Yeah.
perfectly appropriate.
Yeah, Mike, I agree, and just wanted to see like what comes out with the governor when they open, like if he has any more specifics regarding recreation centers, because he might just say recreation centers are open, but then your job and the leadership and the team will have to figure out what those intricacies are, like you said, the track, the pool, and all that. And those things are too separated on its own, because pool is being looked at as a separate category. But and one question I had in general regarding the rec center, during this time, have you seen any drop off in memberships, or people signing, like, not, obviously they can't get new memberships now because it's closed, or you don't expect, but do you see any numbers drop off or losing customers or anything? And I guess when things open or get to becoming more normal later on, we can make that up, but for the time being.
Yeah, that's hard to gauge right now because we don't have any daily visit data. We have no revenue from memberships coming in whatsoever, because our memberships are paid for annually at the time of registration. We don't do any type of monthly or daily, membership draw from your bank account. So that's hard to answer. I can tell you that one of our biggest goals in our entire department is making people continue to feel warm and fuzzy and confident in returning. We're trying our best to keep things fun, and that's what the community engagement's about. Keeping our own staff's faces on Facebook so people can see us. So they say, oh man, I really miss going to the pool. Oh, and hey, there's that guy that works at the rec center, and there's a picture of a slush puppy from somebody who was drinking last year. I can't wait to get back to that. So we're really trying our best to build that confidence so that when people have the ability to return, they will return, because we know that a lot of people are going to look at, when things reopen and say, yeah, I'm not quite sure that I'm going to go ahead and go to the pool yet. I'm going to wait a little bit longer, but we're doing everything we can to make people feel confident in returning. And we're going to continue to communicate what we've done, in terms of like HVAC filter changes, what our MSDS sheets say by the word for, what viruses our spray bottles actually kill. Like, we'll get as detailed as we can so people feel confident, they feel safe, because that's our biggest thing. Without that, without people feeling safe or confident, they're not going to come back, because recreation is absolutely necessary, but not for everyone. Some people are going to come day one. They're going to swim, they're going to work out, they're going to run the track, they're going to love it. Some people are not. And those are the folks that we want to try and make sure that they still feel comfortable coming back to us sooner rather than later, because that's where we're going to see issues with retention. That's where we're going to see issues with, our revenue potentially when people are up for renewal.
Hey, Michael.
Like, I want to add one thing. I was thinking, I know the recreation center covers other areas, for example, space rentals or park, like the shelter rentals for picnics and all that. And that's part of a bigger discussion too, or all those park space usage for games and baseball or soccer or tennis even. And that's some of that's part of the membership, but it'll be interesting to see how that space is utilized or not utilized based on people's perception.
Yeah, absolutely. We know now that, the Hamilton County Health, as part of their taking a look at the governor's order, told us that a lot of those public spaces are closed. Tennis, basketball, fields, shelters. We've canceled, and Mr. Lippert knows, we've canceled all of our May shelter rentals, which is unfortunate as well. So we're trying to, have folks reschedule those for a later date, or find another opportunity where they can gather and have their reunion or their picnic or whatever it is that they're going to do. But yeah, it's tough, because with gathering limitations, that kind of trumps a lot of what we do. It trumps, you can't have a baseball practice with more than 10 people, even if they said baseball practices are okay. You can't have a swim practice with more than 10 people, even if they say that the pools are open. So there's a lot of things that kind of rely on that we're really trying to piece together, and it stinks. It really
Michael,
stinks.
you still have staff calling your members of the community center too, don't you? Calling some of the seniors and calling, just the membership base period, right?
Yeah, so Laura touches base with a lot of our seniors on a regular basis, and from the jump, we knew, like, especially Mrs. Knight and Anna, they took a really active approach in being able, and a lot of that is based on their proximity to them because they live in Sharonville. But Laura, our main point for the seniors, she contacts them weekly, she calls them, and I know a lot of them are dealing with like loneliness and things like that. So hopefully that those conversations are able to kind of pep those folks up. Carol's working with Silver Sneakers to be able to make phone calls on them. And Carol, you can jump in if you'd like to on that. But in terms of calling our entire list of members just to say, hey, how's it going? We haven't done a lot of that. But we could definitely look at that.
I was talking more about the seniors who may be lonely and who come in just for social reasons and that.
Yeah, so our staff in general, we've encouraged them to stay in communication with what we call like at-risk folks, whether it be seniors or single parents. Like single parents are super at risk right now, right? That type of stuff. So we've encouraged them to stay in contact, both from a work standpoint or from an out of work standpoint. And also the Sharonville supports thing. I know we've got 2 of our staff that are, they know our community center members really well. So they've been able to try and push them to some of it. So hopefully that's helping. But Carol can speak a little bit about the Silver Sneakers phone calls, because there's some opportunity there as well.
Yeah, I just want to touch base on a couple other points as well. Sue, I think you're absolutely right. I think people are just anxious and they want to get back to normalcy as soon as possible. A lot of the calls that we've been getting have been, is camp opening? When's camp registration? Just let me know. If I won't tell anybody, those kind of things. And we're like, we don't know. So we're trying to keep them very encouraged and keeping them engaged. Some of the things for adding value as we move forward and we talk with the fitness team and we talk to the facility team and the program team, we're looking at trying to keep things as normal as possible. So if we have to do personal training through Zoom, if we have to do group exercise class virtually, to keep those added benefits to their memberships. Maybe those are some of the things that we can add for free to give a little bit more value since our facilities aren't completely open at that time. One of the other things, and we're talking about the seniors, but we're also with the children, Julie, who is in charge of our nursery, part-time nursery supervisor, her and Miss Foster have been making little bags, little goodie bags, and taking some of those to the children, our frequent flyers who come into the nursery who miss them. It's like their grandmas and their aunts and so forth. And just dropping them off, at their door, leaving, doing it on their own regard, and getting those pictures and those videos of how excited they are back. So to answer your question, Jim, we are doing constant engagement. I think with Julie and Christina being on the Sharonville Cares program, we're touching a lot of those residents daily. I know we have one gentleman, his name is Bob Smith. He comes, he volunteers down at the VFW, very lonely. They talk to him probably 10 times a week. So those are some of the things that the team's doing. I know Anna, Sue, other people, Vicky, you guys, without people like you in the community, people wouldn't survive mentally, because you guys are what gives back to the community to make sure that people are taken care of. So congratulations to all of you guys for doing that. On to the Silver Sneakers part of it. I'm working with the group called Tivity, who owns the program Silver Sneakers, who sells that to the insurance companies. What they're currently doing is they're doing a lot of on-demand exercise classes. So we've shared a few of those with them. But as we move forward and with everything that we're dealing with, we've kind of been a little bit busy on that end. But if we start to call these individuals and start to do wellness checks and have them move with us, or we start to do like Zoom classes. Now, the difficult part of that is, do we have the Silver Sneaker instructor do that? And there would be a fee involved with that. So we're kind of working through those things. I also need to get with United Healthcare, because we have a contract with them as well. Their program is called Active Renew. They dropped Silver Sneakers, and United Healthcare is such a large entity that they have, Shayak's nodding his head, he agrees, that they do their own wellness programs. So trying to find somebody, they haven't been more forefront as Tivity is. And Tivity, the thing with Tivity, if we don't get paid, they don't get paid. So they have more, stuff in the game that they could lose if we don't make money. So I hope that kind of answered some of the questions, but Shayak, we have not received any refund request. With Mom Prom, they had to go through that whole cancellation. Jan Schatz helped Bethany with that. And everybody was just like, we missed you. We understand. Nobody was upset. So we're in the process of doing those mass refunds for Mom Prom. But other than that, no refunds requested for membership at this time. I think they just need to know information, and the more transparent that we can be and give them more phases of how things are going to go and updates through our website, Facebook, what Michael was talking about, I think that's going to suffice some of those nervous energy type stuff.
We just need that information. That's what
Absolutely.
that's what we're waiting on.
We need the information too. So we get nervous and we get that anxiety too. So we're trying our best. We're trying to be creative. So if anything that you guys have that you would like us to touch base with, or any of the seniors that you know that would need some more friendly phone calls, please let us know. We'll be glad to do that. Thank you.
I know Laura does a lot of the calls, which she's awesome. She stepped right in Linda T's stepped right in. There was no, they both the same. They both treated the seniors, they love them. So I know the 16 people I delivered food to for a couple weeks, they were lonely, and they don't have Facebook, and they don't have the computer stuff. So, I mean, her calling, I've been calling just to say hi. I mean, this group of people, they're a hoot. I just can't believe how much fun they were. I mean, I went to the one meeting to tell them I was running for council, and I've been going ever since, because they're just a fun group of people. And so I just want, I want to give a shout out to Laura, because she is doing an awesome job. So
I'll let her know that. And we cherish that group of seniors. That they're very special to us. They're a part of our family. They have been for a long time. And we know that group is dwindling and getting smaller, and they have their challenges. But we try to do everything we can to keep them, engaged. And you mentioned they don't have computers, they don't have Facebook. That's our biggest struggle right now, is trying to connect with people that don't have access, and finding ways to do that. So that's, you see a lot of our stuff is geared towards folks that are more probably technologically savvy. And it's because we haven't found a great silver bullet to be able to, connect with the seniors.
One of the other thing I was going to mention too, Sue, is Laura's the one that's making all the masks for the staff. And of course, as she thinks of our seniors, she makes a few extra. So if they, I don't want to put that totally on a public announcement, but for those individuals who are our members, if they don't have one and need one, talk to Laura. She is making those for us. So got a lot of fabric that were donated from the quilters and so forth. So she's been at home. I think she's made a total of 56 masks so far. Yeah, so she's doing a great job. We're all trying to do what we can from our homes to continue to work and impact the residents and members of Sharonville.
Actually, I want to ask Jim about that in general for our city, regarding PPE, our staff that actually need it and will use it. Say our fire, our police, our park and recreation, who are outdoors, or even on Joe's team, people who are out and about more. How are we doing regarding all that? Like, are things accessible to us? Or
the last time I asked was probably a week or so ago to police and fire, and at that time we were still doing fine. And there's a lot of sharing amongst municipalities going on too. So if we have something extra, we could loan or share it with others, and vice versa. So as about a week or so ago, we were fine.
Okay.
Mike, you got anything else?
I don't. Again, we're going to continue to do the good job we've been doing, but the membership extension information paired with a few other updates regarding our department, that'll be coming out very quickly. Again, we just wanted to make sure that everybody in this committee and this group was okay with that. And that's at a minimum. So when people ask, because we'll get questions, that's the least we're going to do. So we're really hoping to be able to accommodate and do more. But that's TBD right now. So
I have a question one question, Mike. You said you had a meeting with a bunch of the other municipals concerning pools and stuff, because I know Wyoming, they're closed for the year.
yeah.
Has any of the other pools shared that they might not open?
Yeah, we know Woodlawn is on the cusp of potentially announcing that they're not going to open. I have a meeting with Blue Ash on Friday, and a bunch of other regional aquatic directors will be in that as well. But just from what I've heard, Evendale is kind of in the same boat as us. They're taking the wait and see approach, but a lot of the communities that are really focused on cost recovery and expense, and they don't have as good a situation as we do, are trying to weigh that option of, hey, if we're going to lose our rear end on this pool season, is it a good idea to open the pool? So I've not heard anybody else that's confirmed it, but there's been whispers of folks that are considering it.
Yeah, I know. I met with verbally with the director for Mason just talking about all the PPEs and how they're going to do that and their approach. So even if they open, say they announce June 1st, they're going to take 2 weeks before they actually open. So they're not going to open anything until June 15th. They're going to do in phases. So even on June 15th, even if the polls are allowed to open, that might not be the first thing that they open. So they are taking a very phased approach, because the biggest thing and the biggest concern is not just when to open and how to open, but what happens if there's a COVID outbreak in their community center. And so those are also things that we're working on. So talking about how, when that happens, what do we do? And then we're shut back down again. So I caution us, all of us, that we don't want to open everything too soon to the full potential. Because if that happens, then we would be shut down again.
My only other comment had to do with the agenda item on the track resurfacing. I completely understand projects being put off because of budget concerns, but I was really hoping that would get done while the rec center was shut down, because that would have been a perfect opportunity. So I just wanted to say that.
I
No, I
concur.
agree.
I know
Because
Carol's looking.
that'll be another shutdown that we will have to do when we get to that point. But right now, I mean, we have to do what we have to do to balance the budget. So we understand.
If that's something that you guys want us to look at, though, Michael, what's the turnaround time if we would start, because we haven't even put that out. Is that something that we don't have to bid that, right? We just have to get quotes?
Correct. Yeah, we are under the threshold with that. We've already talked to multiple groups, one group in particular that we know is an expert in the fact, and they've done a lot of work for us in the past. So they have a lot of institutional knowledge. So that's Cincinnati Flooring.
Cincinnati Flooring,
Yeah.
and actually that's what Mason is doing right now. They're getting their track repaired, because as soon as I hung up with her asking questions about track, all of their members started to lose their marbles about the track and running into each other. So they're redoing their track right now. So Jim, I can call them today and find out what the lead time would be for us to get in. I know that they're working on Mason right now, and it takes 2 to 3 weeks to complete. So I can find out what their availability is.
Yeah, we would love to be able to limit the closure of that track down the road, because if it takes 2 weeks to redo, we don't want to have to close the track in November to do that, and then nobody can use it when we're finally reopened. We would love to be able to do it now, but
Yeah, so if the committee wants Michael and Carol to look further into that, just give us a thumbs up.
Of it, and Patient's willing to.
Awesome.
Shayak, Sue, what do you guys think?
I agree.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that'd be one less problem we'd have with the community. You could say we killed 2 birds with 1 stone. We got everything ready and we're ready to go when it's open.
Vicky, you got any thoughts?
I agree. I've had some people reach out and talk to me about, we're doing a great job with our employees and things like that. I guess it was regarding an email that Jim had sent out about stopping everything, and they felt like we need to still do some things for the city too, and not just, so I think you would get a lot of council support on that, guaranteed.
well, then we will take that information. We'll run it up the flagpole with Cincinnati Flooring and see what they say regarding a lead time and a confirmed quote, and we can return with that information quickly.
I will
That
do
would be
that
great.
today and get that to Jim and you, Michael.
Anybody got anything else for Michael or Carol? All right. Anything else? Good to the order?
It's good to see you guys.
Same here.
All right, we'll consider this adjourned. You guys hang in there. Stay safe, everyone.
We will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just saying.
You all.
Bye,
Thanks
guys.
for-
See,
guys.
thank you.